10 days of the Manchester Science Festival kicks off this Friday, the 12th of February. With me, I have Ella Wild, who's the head of festivals and events, and Liz Pickering is the events producer. So first of all, the both of you, hats off for getting the festival on in these difficult times. What's it been like?
Yeah, thanks, Nigel. Well, I think Liz will probably echo my thoughts here. It's definitely been a challenging but exciting time, I think, for the team. I mean, before Christmas, we were still looking ahead to maybe doing a physical festival, but then obviously things were just changing all the time. So we'd had up our sleeves this digital option, and we're just delighted that we're still able to present this content to our audiences. I don't know, Liz, if you found similar.
Yeah, I just feel really pleased that we're able to do something, and we've been working really hard behind the scenes on 30 plus pieces of content, and with many of our partners over the last since February, March last year. So to be able to do something and bring some of that work to our visitors and audience is amazing.
So just remind, this festival was supposed to originally take place when?
So, well, I mean, way back it was meant to be in October, and then we moved it to February now, but physically, and then we moved it to now, but online. So we've been through a few different forms of the festival up to this point.
What have you had to lose from the festival by it being online as opposed to being in a physical space?
Well, at the moment, luckily, again, thanks to the work of the team and everyone at the museum, we're hoping to be able to retain as much of the content as possible. So we've got our online programme, as we say, from the 12th to the 21st this month. And then we're also looking for later on this year, when we're able to present some of the physical content back on site. So hopefully we won't actually lose that much from what we'd planned, which is brilliant.
And I suppose with it being all around climate change and the COP26, that'll work out quite well when it comes together later on in the year.
Definitely, yeah. We're already having conversations about what we can do, like you say, to link in with COP26, because that is such an important moment across the world, and for it to be in Glasgow and for the museum to be able to respond to that throughout November. We're looking at a programme of lots of different activities and installations, things that we can present on site for our audiences. So we're really excited about that as well.
I suppose with it being in Manchester, dare I say that climate change started in Manchester, or global warming started? Is that the right thing to say or not?
I guess, I mean, in terms of the Industrial Revolution, certainly, and Manchester is the birthplace for that. And I think all the conversations and just the partners that we've been involved with for the festival, like Manchester Climate Change Agency, for example, who are doing absolutely amazing work across the city and really working towards those ambitions for the city going forward. And again, I think Manchester really is one of the pioneering cities, and there's no better city, from my perspective anyway, to be able to deliver this content. And obviously with the museum and its relevance to the subject and our own work with sustainability and climate focused programming, I think we're perfectly placed for these exciting discussions.
Okay, I picked up a few of the events, and I'll tell you the one that I went straight to was eco anxiety. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can tell you a bit about that one because I'm working on that one. So as part of the sort of vision for the festival was that, and especially with our theme being all around climate change, it's really important that we have young voices, and we start to curate some of our programme and be represented by some of those young voices. And so we set up a panel of young people to curate an event for us way back in sort of the beginning of summer, and it's all been done virtually, which is amazing. And our panel, I'm just going to name check them because they're all amazing. They're aged between 14 to 24, and we've got Phoebe, Ella, Tom, Mahala, Nyan and Molly. And we tasked them basically and said, you've got a space in our program, what do you want to do? And we went through lots of different topics, obviously within the context of climate change, and the overwhelming topic that came out of those sessions was eco-anxiety, and how this is a thing that it's not just felt by young people, but it's definitely something that young people experience. And so that event really is unpicking what is it? Let's talk about it.
Well, I was going to ask what it is. So perhaps you can explain a little bit.
So it's an anxiety of the future, and it's anxiety of climate change, and it's looking at we as adults spend a lot of our time reading the news and seeing what the sort of scientists are saying around the planet and what we need to do to become almost carbon zero or carbon free, whichever way you look at it. And for young people that's really difficult. They have a vision for the future, and at the moment the future is we don't know which way we're going. We don't know what that is. And so it's an anxiety of the future, but really framed around the planet. And how are we going to stop, using up all of these resources? And it's important, I think, for them to talk about it. And that's what they said. And so we said, great. And we put a panel together. It's been led by a young Mancunian, Niall Henry, who's founder of the Blair Project. And the Blair Project, he's 22, so he's also a young person. The Blair Project is a electric go-karting sort of technology, social enterprise. So he's sort of leading that. And then we've got a scientist that's going to talk to us about, clinical eco-anxiety and what that is. And then we've got a young activist as well, Maya Rose Craig, who set up Black to Nature, which is an organisation that encourages visible ethnic minorities to have equal access to the outdoors and take them out of those urban inner city areas and go into the countryside. So it's very close to my heart, that one.
Do you think there's just going off topic a little bit, do you think there is a generation gap between what people think about climate, and if so, well, where is it? What age do people suddenly become unconcerned, shall we say, or less concerned?
I mean, having spoken to young people about eco-anxiety and having sort of had lots of conversations with different scientists and researchers, I think everybody's on their own individual journey.
Okay.
So, some people are grieving, some people are hopeful, some people are, like you were just saying, sort of they don't want to even think it's happening. And other people are, being active in the community. So I think it's individual. I'm not sure there's necessarily an age gap. I think that as a young person, it's difficult enough to deal with what's going on right now with COVID. And you're at home with your parents, potentially you're not going to school, and then on top of all of that, you're reading about your future, and you're relying on the adults to deliver it for you. So I think it affects them in a more acute way, but I think it affects all of us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Just going on, I was trying not to bring up COVID, but I will do, because I just happened to be reading something this morning. It's an article from one of the universities that's sort of blaming the COVID outbreak on us encroaching on wild forests in China, and the fact that we've done this means that, I think it said something along the lines of there was 40 different types of bats that could be bringing these viruses closer to human contact. Is that do you think that's going to come up in this in the way that COVID may well have been driven by ecology?
No, go on, Lizzie, you go.
I was just going to say, I think loss of biodiversity is going to come up in almost every conversation we have. What's interesting about climate change, from obviously I'm interested in the topic anyway, but as a producer of lots of different events in the festival, it's so multi-layered, that it's so complicated. So I think every discussion I tend to have, I don't know about you, Ella, with our speakers, with scientists, every sort of subtopic comes up.
Yeah.
And then there's this sort of the topic of how to be a good citizen as well. And I suppose that crosses across this, doesn't it, as well, in terms of transport, and I think it's equality and food are the three topics. Just tell us a little bit about that and where you think that's going to go.
Well, that's another series that I'm producing. So I'm working with Helen Chersky, who's a physicist and broadcaster. And basically, she wants to ask the question, how can I be a good citizen of the world? And she's not asking the question. We're not going to be able to provide the answer to that question, but we're going to have a discussion around what does that mean? And it's almost looking at what are our current options for creating those solutions for climate change within these areas. And we're looking at, you said, transport, equality, and food. And then how can we go about changing the way we live? And she's going to be talking to lots of different people from across Greater Manchester, actually. And we'll be looking at how does the world respond? How do businesses respond? How does government respond? And of course, we'll be looking at what we can do on a day-to-day basis, because that's not the total solution, but that's part of the problem. And looking at what are the best decisions that we can make. And so, for instance, in the transport one, we've got Professor Karen Lucas, who's from the University of Manchester, from the School of Geography, who's an expert in the area of transport and climate change and social justice as well, which is really interesting. On the food one, we've got Corinne Bell from Open Kitchen Manchester, who's, obviously one of the most sustainable food organisations there is in Greater Manchester. So she's going to give us her opinion. And on the equality talk, we've got the Mayor of Salford, Paul Dennett, who's going to come and talk to us about, I guess what we're looking at on that one is, equality within climate change, but also equality just within the world, because it all sort of factors into the same sort of topic. But it's really exciting, those panel discussions.
Okay. I think I've probably gone around the fringe events. Can you just tell us what you think are the highlights of the week or the 10 days?
I think certainly from my perspective, one of the big highlights is our event, which is all around the Gaia hypothesis, so Earth but not as we know it. And that is, it's going to show some pre-recorded provocations from Dr. James Lovelock, who's 101, and he's obviously I say obviously, I didn't know this, I've just kind of like become obsessed with it since starting this job, the whole Gaia theory and everything around it, but he came up with the Gaia theory, which is quite a controversial theory, but so important when we're talking about climate change. So Roger Highfield, who's the science director for the Science Museum Group, actually went to interview James last summer with a social distance interview at his house. So we've got these 5 provocations from James all around the Gaia hypothesis, the future of climate change, what we can all do to help reduce the impact. So we'll be setting those provocations to our speakers, and they will be responding with their own thoughts. So again, as Liz was saying, we've got Dr. Helen Chersky, who's going to be chairing that event. And then also we've got Gaia Vince, who's the broadcaster and author. We've got Professor Chris Rapley, and also Zamzam Ibrahim, who's from Manchester, who's the Vice President of the Students' Union at the moment. So we've got a great range of speakers involved.
And showing my age, you've got one of my musical heroes, Brian Eno, as well.
Yeah. No, we're dead excited about him, Brian Eno.
So what's he going to be doing? Just tell us what he's going to be doing.
Yeah, sure. So Brian Eno is going to be in conversation with James Thornton. So Brian Eno is a trustee of an organisation called Client Earth, which James Thornton is the chief exec and founder of. So Client Earth are a group of lawyers, essentially, who lobby governments and parliaments to make changes in the laws that impact climate change. So the two of them are going to be in conversation about that, and again, what we can all do to reduce the impacts. And we've got Liz Bonnin, who's going to be chairing that event as well, which we're really excited about. So that should be a really great event. And that's Monday the 15th, we've got that one in the evening.
Okay. And what would you like people to be taking away from this?
I don't know what you think, Liz, but I think the key kind of words really that have stuck in my mind when we've been putting the festival together, whether it was physical or online, is that we want to inform and inspire our audiences. I think if we can do one or both of those, then I think that's amazing. So as long as we're informing and that the talks that we're presenting are really accessible and engaging. And as Liz has been saying, we've been working with the young people, and that Liz has done an amazing job putting that together, so that we've got a whole range of different voices for people to hear from, and that then people can feel inspired and positive. I think everyone needs that at the moment anyway. But, you know, what can we all now do to help with climate change? It's not doom and gloom at all. It's about giving people those tools and that empowerment to log off and do something positive themselves. I don't know, Liz, if you've got anything in addition.
Yeah, I mean, I think just for me, it's just climate change is such an urgent issue for the world, on top of, you know, the pandemic that's happening at the moment. And it just feels so right that we're exploring this as a topic for the festival right now. And I think the two words I always think about is inspiring and exciting people. So, you know, the point of our sort of our roles outside the festival as well as in the festival is to excite and inspire, you know, the future of scientific exploration, technological progress. And we do that through our exhibitions, our events, our activities. And to be able to do that right now in a pandemic is amazing. And then, you know, we'll continue to do that as soon as our museum doors can reopen. You know, we'll continue to do that. And it just feels that, yeah, it's right. And I feel privileged to be able to do that.
Okay, that's good. Finally, just want to give yourselves a plug as to where people can go to find out some more information.
Yeah, so if people jump onto Google Science and Industry of Museum, on our website, we've got all of the digital programme up on there, and also links to our Climate Talk series, which is taking place across the Science Museum group, of which the Gaia event and the Brian Eno event are part of. So all the information that you could ever need will be on there.
Okay, that's lovely.
Just to do one more little plug, is everything's free, but you do need to get a ticket if you want to see any of the events. So do check them out early. We've got an exhibition that launches on the 12th by the Royal Photographic Society, and then from the 13th our programme of talks begin. So
okay, we'll all look forward to that, and we'll certainly be tuning in on About Manchester. Thank you very much.
Thank you.